I know I shouldn't be speaking this language, but because so many people are not getting it, I'm saying this, please listen. If I say your mother, will you say revenue? If I say your wife, will you say revenue? If I say your children, will you say revenue? Then why is it when we say temple, you're saying revenue? We are not protesters, we are not agitators, we are anguished, we are pained. So all these people who are raising their support with these banners, these are not agitators. We will not block roads, we will not block trains, we will not cause inconvenience to others. But as responsible citizens of this state, when the state is going for election, we are expressing our anguish. Please listen. Every one of you who's standing for election, please listen. As I have been speaking about the temples, there is a lot of debate and discussion going on, lot of negativity from certain people. But I want you to understand this. Right now the problem is, I've been talking to so many people, if you say temple, they say revenue. It's very appropriate because when East India Company took over the temples, they put the temples in the revenue department, most appropriate. Because they didn't come here out of their love for the deities for which we were willing to shed our life. They came here because of the revenue, the wealth, the gold, the diamonds, the land. Not love, not devotion, greed is the ruling force. Now we are still talking the same thing. If you say temple, you say revenue. If I say Kaveri, people say revenue. What about the revenue? Well, I think you're not getting it. Let me speak like this. I know I shouldn't be speaking this language, but because so many people are not getting it, I'm saying this, please listen. If I say your mother, will you say revenue? If I say your wife, will you say revenue? If I say your children, will you say revenue? Then why is it when we say temple, you're saying revenue? It's shameful that we are talking about temples as revenue. It's not about revenue, it's not about land. The gold has been anyway taken away, it doesn't matter to us.
The British looted as much as $45 trillion. Let that number sink in. 45 trillion between 1765 and 1938. Just so that you get a sense of how big this sum is, let me give you another figure. The amount of money that the British looted from India, $45 trillion, is 17 times the current GDP of the UK, 17. That's how much India, which used to be one of the richest countries in the world, was reduced to one of the poorest.
This is the core. This is the core of this land spirit. You cannot diminish it, you cannot put it down, you cannot mismanage it, but unfortunately, it's going in that direction. I want you to understand this. The temples were not taken over by the British government. It was taken over by East India Company, a business, and they put it under their revenue department. In 1817, this whole disaster started. Then it so happened that the Christian missionaries and evangelical people back home in England for them started protesting that Christian men should not manage pagan temples. So for that reason, they started giving it back, half-heartedly, because there was still gold, there were still diamonds, there was still revenue, but they started giving it back because of protests by the Christian community, fortunately. I'm saying this because today when I say these temples should be in the hands of the devotees. Some people say, why can't we take over the churches? Why can't we take over the mosques? Why can't we take over the Jain temples, gurudwaras? No, you should not touch the mosque, you should not touch the church, you should not touch the gurudwara or the Jain temple, because there is one justice, one injustice. You don't have to multiply that. Instead of solving the problem, you want to multiply the problem. Nobody has any right to take anybody's place of worship, whoever they are, whatever they believe in. If it means something to them, it means something to them, that's all. But in Tamil Nadu, 87% of the population, their places of worship, unfortunately, is in the hands of the government by default, not by intent, because the East India Company did it, and we continue like one famous, now recently very popular poet, American poet, said this, just ease is not justice. Unfortunately, this is continuing in Tamil Nadu and large parts of the country. We think if you just leave it as it is, it's justice. No, just ease is not justice. Now, what is it that I'm talking about? What I'm saying is, I'm talking about the fundamental rights of the citizens of India, and I'm talking about secularism, because in my understanding, to be secular means religion does not mess with the government does not mess with the religion. That's my idea of secularism. We must understand this. There's a profound science as to how these temples are built and above all, how they're consecrated. Here in Tamil Nadu, we have temples which have been consecrated by Agastya Muni, by Patanjali Maharishi, and many other sages and saints, particularly the 9 Mars. These are not just places of prayer, these are power centers for us to… these are windows to the cosmos. How we can open it, how we can realize different dimensions of knowing, how we can access different dimensions of knowledge. Right now, there is a certain number of people in the country who have an allergy to the word dimension, so I'm using it repeatedly so that today on mahashivaratri, they will at least stay awake so that they can stay awake. It's my wish and my blessing. All those people who have filled themselves with hatred, today, at least today, cool it for one day, huh? So, temples were not just made as places of prayer. It was not about petitioning God. It is for sadhana. The most significant of these temples are the Panchabhuta stelas that we have created between the states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh right now according to the modern states that we have. For the five elements of earth, water, fire, air and space, we have five different temples. These five are to work in tandem like one big machine to create well-being, because the fundamentals of yoga is in the fundamental science called as Bhuta Shuddhi, the way of cleansing the elements and slowly gaining mastery over the elements. Once you have mastery over your elements, you have mastery over your physical and psychological nature. This was most important because if you have no mastery over your body and your mind, if you have wealth, if you have anything, nothing will matter because you cannot live a good life. There is no way you will live a life of profoundness and impactfulness. So gaining mastery over this was most important. Those yogis and ascetics who could do sadhana for themselves, well and good, but for common people, they needed support, so they consecrated these five temples. A few years ago, I happened to be in one of these temples and I was talking to them. This is all under government control now, run by a few devotees but largely controlled by bureaucrats. I asked them, in some way are you managing this connection with the five elements, these five temples? They said, no, this is completely separately managed, each one of them. Then I thought, I told that trustee this, that see, if your father was a rich man, a very wealthy man, and he had a Rolls Royce, after he died, because you were five sons, each one of you took one wheel and started rolling it and think you have a Rolls Royce, you're a tragedy. This is the tragedy that has come to us. People think if they take a broom and sweep it, they're managing the temple. People think if they do two pujas, they're managing the temple. No, that is not the management of temple. There is much more intricate science involved in this. It is very important. This is in the hands of the devotees. It is very important that all of you should stand up to make this happen. If I say temples, people say, oh, are you getting into politics? Are you interested in the revenue? I am not interested in the revenue. When I'm saying I don't want the government in the temples, do I want politics in the temples? Definitely I don't want. It is just that it bleeds my heart to see that such great effort of the past, such sciences, such tremendous well-being that it brought to this culture, which left us in prosperity, that left us in various levels of scientific development, and above all, a culture which lived exuberantly. Today, we are in a process of decay. The UNESCO, oh, look at these guys, they've all come prepared. Okay. Okay. Protesters, we are not agitators, we are anguished, we are pained. So all these people who are raising their support with these banners. These are not agitators. We will not block roads, we will not block trains, we will not cause inconvenience to others. But as responsible citizens of this state, when the state is going for election, we are expressing our anguish. Please listen. Every one of you who's standing for election, please listen.